Colin Powell, former US National Security Advisor, once said, "A dream does not become reality through magic. It takes sweat, determination, and hard work." Hi guys, this is Janvi Thakkar from Vartalap Intelify, and today we have with us someone from the dream company of all budding technocrats. He's an IIT Roper alumnus and is currently working as a program manager in Google. Yes, you heard it right. Without further ado, I feel proud to introduce Mr. Karanpreet Singh. Hi Karan, how are you? I hope I didn't miss out on any of the details.
Hi, Janvi. I think that's a great introduction, and you have mentioned everything. And I'm glad to be part of this.
Thank you, sir. So we'll start off.
Yeah, we can.
All right, sir. So there's a lot of hustle bustle in everybody's mind about how the working environment at Google is. Can you throw some light on that for us?
Oh, okay. So I think there's amazing work environment and work culture at Google, and I think the best thing is that you sort of have different people coming from different backgrounds, different teams, countries, and different offices coming together to create really the world class products for billions and millions of users all around the globe. So I think that's one thing, and the second thing is there are so many smart and talented colleagues all around, and you work with them, so you learn different things from each other. You learn something or other thing every other day, and you sort of learn from each other, and then sort of you work together to meet the mission of the organization. So I think that's really great. And moreover, I think you would know that most of the products or services which are sort of provided by Google are used by millions and billions of people. So I think you need to understand and you need to be very empathetic with the users. Make sure that whatever products or services you are creating, they are secure, and sort of making sure that whatever demands or requirements user have are met from those. So I think
Def-
that's
Definitely, sir. So, sir, how did you get into Google? I mean, who found whom?
okay. So I think that's definitely a long journey, and I know that it's a dream place for a lot of people, and for me as well. I think it was the same, and it didn't have happen overnight for sure. So I think before working at Google, I was working in one of the online education companies called Upgrade, where I was leading the technology vertical programs, where we used to create learning experience and different online courses in different emerging technologies, like let's say artificial intelligence or machine learning. It could be data science. It was full stack development, and let's say blockchain or some of the newer emerging technologies. So I think this is where I started learning different technologies. I sort of enjoyed working in that role, and I realized that I think the future ahead is sort of going to be very interesting and exciting, in terms of a lot of internet products are going to use these new emerging technologies like machine learning. And I thought that maybe I should learn sort of one of the areas of machine learning into depth. And this is where I started looking for a new challenge, where maybe I'm working in a team where these technologies are used. And obviously, I think this is where I thought of Google, and I thought of applying it. I contacted one of my friends, and he referred me out. So this is where I think, again, from that moment also, it took around 4 months for the entire interview processes and everything to get over. And it can take time, right? It can take somewhere between 2 to 6 months for your process to over, and you sort of get an offer letter. But I think that was a good journey.
Definitely, sir. So, sir, what is actually your role as a project manager at Google? What do you
Yeah.
do?
Yeah, so it's a program manager role, and it's generally a very standard industry role in most of the big technology firms, like let's say Google, Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft, LinkedIn, or a lot of product startups or emerging technology startups also have this role, which is, they call it as a program manager. At some places it's also called as a project manager role as well. So I think when you work as a program manager, you sort of work with different stakeholders and different teams and you sort of work in the intersection of, I would say, technology, business, and product, right? So you sort of derive the entire program or project you are owning, and I would rather call it as that a program manager is the CEO of the program, right? So his job is to sort of drive the entire program with all the stakeholders, all the teams, making sure that the program or project is running on time, in the right, with the right cost, right resources, and in a good budget, right? And you also identify and mitigate different risks, right, which come in the project. And obviously you need to make sure that the program or product, or let's say the project you are working in, is succeeding, right? With also identifying the right success metrics. And I think sometimes program managers work on technical projects, sometimes they work on non-technical projects. For me, it's much more on technology side, where I'm working on some of the technologies like machine learning. But I think the good thing is that you're on the top of different technologies. It might be the case that you are not coding yourself when you are working in this role, but again, you work with software developers or designers or different people. So obviously you need to be well versed with the technology you are working in.
Definitely, sir. So, sir, let's get on to some technical questions now. So, sir,
Yeah.
you've worked on artificial intelligence, right? We are often reminded of the speculative ills that are related with AI through various movies, articles, magazines, that at some point of time, AI might be a threat to humanity. So, what's your take on that?
Okay. I think first of all, that's a really heavy term, which is AI or artificial intelligence for most of us, right? And for most of our viewers, I'm sure most of our viewers are the young audience from schools and colleges, and some of them might also not know what artificial intelligence actually means, right? They would have heard of this term, but maybe thinking that maybe artificial intelligence is some supercomputer or some, let's say, artificial brain. So I would rather like to first maybe explain very simply what artificial intelligence actually means, right? Before maybe I can answer your actual question. Should I?
Yes, sir.
Should I?
Yes, sir. Definitely. That will make it much easier for us to understand.
Got it. Got it. So yeah, I think first I'll sort of explain what artificial intelligence is, because I think there's a lot of buzz around this term. Sometimes I would call it as a hype as well. So it's very useful to sort of know what exactly this is. So I'm sure that right now in the internet age, a lot of us have used different products, right? Different internet products, like maybe in the travel domain, like Make My Trip or Yatra, or different websites. In the banking domain, we have used so many products, so many applications on our phone. All these products we use have some sort of data associated with it, right? This data can be your personal identification data, your sort of email ID, your different details, your bank account, all these personal details. And sometimes these data is also about your expenditure pattern, or maybe your spending pattern, or it could be your travel history, it could be your GPS history. All this data is there, right? So now if you see, there's a lot of data around us, and we have heard this term multiple times, that data, we sort of use data to drive different decisions. So I'll just let me screen share and tell you how we sort of use this data in our day-to-day life. Call this entire process or entire science as a data science, right? And I am sure a lot of our viewers would have heard this term very like along with artificial intelligence. So I'll just
Right, sir.
first explain data science, where we sort of, what we do is we collect and manage, I would rather call it as store data, and then we also sort of analyze data, and we generate some insights, right? So I think this is what we call as data science. I'll just give you a very simple example. Let's say we use a portal called Make My Trip, right? So
Right.
there, I think all our travel history is sort of saved in their databases, and at the back end there could be engineers, or there could be systems or softwares which analyze that data. They figure out how I spend, or how, where do I travel, do I make foreign trips, or do I travel within my state. And I also sort of generate, and based on all this analysis, different insights are generated, which that portal, Make My Trip, or any travel website can use to maybe give me different offers, or give me send me different ads for different travel sort of bookings, or different hotel bookings, all these things. So I think this is what this entire process of how sort of we collect and generate insights from data is called data science. Okay, so let me now introduce a new term which we hear along with data science, and we call it as machine learning. So let's first understand what is machine learning. So we sort of use data we collected for different things, right? And as I said, we sort of generate insights. We also do visualizations and different things. So do you think we sort of do all these things manually, right? I mean, analyzing and generating insights from the data is done manually.
No,
What do you?
no, sir, definitely not. That all of that cannot be done manually.
Yeah. So I'm sure, as you said, there would be softwares and systems which are there to analyze data. So I would rather call it as machines, right? So there would be machines whom we will train based on data, that, let's say there's some sort of data. So we sort of train them on the data so that they can analyze the data, and they can make decisions for us, right? The decisions can be, these are the ads they want to provide, these are the offers that machine wants to provide. All this is done by the machine itself, right? And we are training the machine, that the machine uses that data and makes decisions for all of us. That's why we call it as machine learning, right? Which sort of often represents that the machine is learning from the data, and then we often test what machine has learned, and then we deploy whatever machine has learned. We deploy those as models. So we generally call them as machine learning models. So we deploy those models so that machine can make better decisions for us, right? I think one example I took just now is the travel booking history and travel data analysis. Let's take another example. So let's take something interesting. So let's take an example of a Gmail, right? So or any email any email service provider. So Janvi, I'm sure you would have used Gmail. So you would have observed there are different folders within Gmail, like inbox or let's say outbox. Can you tell what all folders are there?
So, yeah, definitely. So Gmail has inbox, outbox, spams, and everything like
Yeah.
related
So
to
as
that.
I said, inbox and spam, right? These two are very interesting folders that whenever an email comes to our inbox, there is a email classifier which sort of classifies whether that email should go to the spam or inbox, right? So can you guess how does that happen? How does a email gets classified, whether it should go into a inbox or a spam?
So I'm definitely sure there must be some sort of keywords that it looks for. For example, while it's putting emails into spam, it looks for keywords like lottery or something related to my bank account, maybe. So it might be putting those emails in the spam.
Got it. Yeah, I think you sort of guessed it correctly. So what happens is that there are a lot of keywords like, let's say, fraud, or let's say lottery, or sometimes we get emails like you have won $100,000 or £100,000. All these emails go into our spam folder because we have trained our machine learning model, or sort of the model, the email classifier which is there in the Gmail, based on the keywords, uh, particularly like all these keywords like fraud, or let's say lottery or all different keywords, right? So that the emails, and what happens is the machine trains itself based on those keywords, and then whenever in future there's a new email coming up, it sort of learns that and makes a decision that whether that email should go into our inbox or spam, right? So what is happening is that the email classifier is learning from every new email and making decisions for us, right? So this is what we call it as machine learning. And I mean, there are different applications. For example, you can have machine learning applications in the field of e-commerce or healthcare or banking. I'll just give one another example that whenever sort of you would have seen that you can sort of apply for, let's say, credit cards or loans, right, online nowadays on different banking websites, that you sort of apply and you are issued a loan instantly. So I'm sure that there's not a person in the background who is going to issue you a loan, who is sitting online and sort of issuing deciding that whether this person should be issued a loan or credit card or not. What happens is that based on all the data which that system is feeded in the past, that these are the good candidates whom we should give loans and these are the bad candidates whom we should not give loans. And based on all that data, right, the data could be that how much how much I earn, or in which city I live, what is my spending pattern, or let's say whether do I pay my electricity or mobile bills on time. All these things go into the data and our machine learns. So whenever a new person comes in and applies for a credit card, the machine sort of takes all the inputs, let's say all the their PAN card and their Aadhaar card, and based on that, it sort of it sort of makes a decisions for that person that whether that person should be issued a credit card or not, right? So that's how sort of it happens. So as you learn what is machine learning and data science, some models are very special, right? Why they are special? Because they what we do is that we sort of create these models in a way our brain makes decisions. So Janvi, do you know how does our brain makes different decisions?
So there are a lot of nerves and everything working inside our brain.
You mentioned the term nerves, right?
Right.
Or you would know about neurons also, right? So
Yeah,
our
sure.
brain,
Neurons, the electrical signals they send all over the brain. Right.
and, and this entire system of neuron, we call it as a nervous system, right? So similarly, while sort of making sure that machines make better decisions or as good decisions as our brain makes, we sort of created neural networks which are called artificial neural networks, which and we sort of develop those neural networks in a machine, deploy them so that machines can make maybe really smart and intelligent decisions, right? So when we sort of go into this go deeper into this machine learning study, we call this entire sort of domain as artificial intelligence, right? So I'm sure now you would sort of relate to the term that why it is called artificial intelligence, right? Because
Definitely, sir.
artificial intelligence, you create models which are very similar to our brains. So now you are sort of creating machines which can maybe make decisions better or maybe as good as humans, and this is called artificial intelligence. And this entire all three domains, the first one is data science, the second one is machine learning, and artificial intelligence. Obviously different domains have different scopes, but they are used very interchangeably with each other. So I'm sure people would have seen, let's say a lot of education companies use the term that their platforms use artificial intelligence for students to practice questions, right? Or for students to prepare for different exams. So how does this actually happens is that based on a student's performance, the machine sort of predicts that this is the level of the student. So or these are the gap areas where a student needs to work on. So the next questions or the next practice papers are focused on those areas, right? Or they sort of generate that maybe a student should focus more on these topics rather than these topics, right? All this happens because of the machine learning models which are working on the background. So I hope I'm sort of able to explain what sort of machine learning or artificial intelligence is.